So what I'm going to go over now is how to breathe when running. So a few tips, a few methods that I like to use myself, and they really have definitely helped with my breathing and running. It is something that I definitely work on a lot, and I do concentrate on every time I'm out running, and it does really help. My main thing with breathing is it helps you stay in a rhythm, and it keeps your heart rate down. It does have an impact on your heart rate. If you're able to control your breathing a little bit better, you're going to be able to keep that heart rate a little bit lower, which means your body's less stressed out, and it's going to be using less energy. You're going to be more economic with what you're actually doing. Okay, so yes, it is very important to work on breathing, and like I said, it will 100% help you keep your heart rate down and use less energy. But the thing is with it, it's not a bloody magical cure for a low level of aerobic fitness. Okay, I do get this question all the time about people wanting to improve their breathing because they can't run 400 meters. I'm sorry, but it's got nothing to do with your breathing. Like, your breathing probably has like a very small impact on it, but it's just the fact that you have a low level of aerobic fitness, and you just need to get in and do some consistent hard aerobic training. Now, if you've been doing that and you are doing that, now it comes into trying to improve your breathing along with it, just to enhance that aerobic training and improve your aerobic fitness along the way. All right. So I just want to make that clear that it's just not, breathing is not a magical pill that all of a sudden you're going to be running, as fast as an Olympian and running as far as you can. You still need to improve that aerobic fitness, because that's the number one thing that actually makes you puffed, because your body is requiring more oxygen than what you're able to give it, because it's using it up because you're not used to that exercise or whatever you're doing. So you're not good at that. You need to improve that aerobic fitness. All right. So I'm just going to go over a method that I use to help you guys sort of put some structure into breath training when you're going out and doing your running. Like I said, I do this every single time I run. Now, you need to take into account there's a difference between the low intensity running and the high intensity running. I'll go over it a little bit more in a second, but when you're concentrating on your breathing and really trying to control it, that's happening in low intensity running, right? It's not anywhere near as much in that high intensity running. So just going over a few methods that I use when I go out for some low intensity running. So I'm talking like steady state stuff. So long, slow distance, anything, below maybe 85% your heart rate, or, if we're working on an RPE scale, like below level, maybe 7 or 8 out of 10. So we're working in those low ends. Okay. So the methods that I use. So when I very first go out and I'm nice and fresh and I'm going out for that low intensity run, actually the very first thing that you need to do is make sure that your running cadence is at an optimal level. So with running cadence, what that is your steps per minute. So how many times your feet are striking the ground per minute. And the magical number to aim for is 180 beats per minute. Now, not everyone's going to hit that, but you want to get as close as possible to that. And then that will help with these breathing methods, because your cadence isn't going to be completely out and you're going to be fighting for breath because you're holding your breath for too long. Okay, so the method I use is that I time my breathing with my steps. All right. And that's why it's really important to make sure that you're running at around about that 180 steps per minute for your cadence. So when I very first start and I'm just doing that nice low intensity and I'm just going out and I'm nice and fresh, I'm going to be breathing fully in and out of my nose for 6 steps. So I'm going to breathe in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in time with my steps, and completely in and out of my nose. The reason that I do this, there's a million benefits that I'm not going to list with this. You can easily look it up and check them out. But the main reason that I do breathe in and out of my nose is because it helps control the breathing. If you're going in and out of your mouth, it's just so much a larger area that the air can come in, and you can't control the breathing to extend it out. And that's what helps with the heart rate, is when you've got that extended breathing rather than just a real big gasp in and then you're breathing out. Okay. So nasal breathing really helps with the control of your breathing. Okay, so when I very first go out, nice low intensity, and I'm nice and fresh, I'm going to be running, breathing in and out completely through my nose for 6 steps. So a 6-step cadence sort of thing. All right. Once the intensity goes up a little bit, or I start to fatigue a little bit, I'm going to be doing still those 6 steps, but I'm going to be breathing in through my nose and out through my mouth. Now, what you need to concentrate on when you're breathing out through your mouth, when you're doing these 6 steps, and that's why it's so good to time it with your steps, because if you don't concentrate on it, you're going to breathe out very quickly. But what you need to do is sort of purge your lips a little bit and control that breathing out. So what I like to do is there's a feeling of not just breathing out of your mouth, but it's coming out of your nose as well. And you can just feel it nice and slowly breathing out. All right. So you want to be controlling that breath out so that you're still staying with that 6-step timing. Now, as the intensity goes up that little bit more, or you start to fatigue that little bit, now I reduce the cadence. So instead of going for 6 steps, now I'll drop back to 4 steps. And this is pretty much my steady state running. I'm doing 4 steps. So, and I can do it in and out of my low steady state. I'm fully in and out of my nose doing 4 steps. So in 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4, all through my nose. And then the high steady state, just that little bit more intensity, I'm breathing in through my nose and out through my mouth, but I'm still remaining with that 4-step cadence. All right. So it's a really good indicator of where your intensity is lying. Like when you get good at this stuff, it's a good indicator of where your intensity is lying. Because if I can no longer hold that 4-step cadence with my breathing in through my nose and out through my mouth, now when I'm running, if I'm just going to shorter breaths or just through my mouth, now I know I've gone past that aerobic threshold. Now I'm more into the higher intensity running. So it's a good indicator for me if I'm just going for a steady state run to back it off so that I can stay with that 4-step cadence through my mouth and out, through my nose and out my mouth. Okay, so once I get past that threshold, you just want to allow, so if I am aiming to go that little bit higher, I don't care about staying under that aerobic threshold. You just allow yourself to breathe how you meant, how it wants to breathe, but you want to have some form of control over it. So you don't want to just be gasping in and out. You still want to be doing, like I said before, with a little bit of purging with your mouth so that you're just extending it out that little bit more, but you still want to let yourself breathe how it needs to breathe once you get into those higher intensities. Because if you're just trying to control your breath way too much and force it to do something it doesn't want to be doing, then it's going to impact how fast you can run and it's going to fatigue you as well. Okay, now throughout a run, this will change. So my breathing patterns will change. So I may be in a steady state and I may be running and doing in a low steady state, breathing in and out of my nose for 4 steps and just in a really good rhythm and feeling it really well. I may hit a hill and now all of a sudden I can't breathe in and out of my nose at all. So I'll just allow myself to hit that threshold and just control what I can with that breathing, just allowing myself to do whatever it needs to do, still in and out of my mouth, but just controlling that little bit. Once I get up over the hill, you'll go back down the other hill and you'll probably be able to go back to that 4-step and breathing in and out of your nose, or you may just have to go through in your nose and out your mouth. Okay, you just need to realize that it will change throughout your run. It's not just going to stick to one unless you just got a full flat track and you're able to just really concentrate on it. Now, with this, if you've never done it before, it does take a very long time to get used to it, but it is really, really beneficial to being able to keep your stress lower. And in regards to that, your heart rate will be lower. Okay, that controlling your breathing really does help keep that heart rate and those stress levels low, which allows you to have more energy towards running longer or whatever you're doing. So when you very first do start this, it's pretty difficult if you haven't done any sort of breath control. All right, and especially if you have got a low level of aerobic fitness. So a really good thing that you could be doing, instead of just, for myself, I just go out and I go straight into those methods, and I try to hold them as long as I can. But what you can do if you go to do some of these methods and they seem really difficult for you, just do sets. All right. So just go out, get warmed up, do whatever you need to do, whatever you normally do with your breath, still just trying to control it that little bit. Like I said, with purging your lips that little bit, just to control how much is going out and in. All right. But instead of just trying to hold, a four-step count breath for the entire time, just do sets of maybe 5. So you just, and like in your nose and out your mouth. So you'll start 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4, and do that for 5 sets, and then just go back to normal breathing again. Okay, go back to normal breathing for 200 meters or whatever you're doing for your run, and go, all right, I'm going to try and do nasal breathing again. So hit another 5 steps, or maybe you have a landmark. Okay, I'm going to do 4-step count all through my nose from here until that light pole away, right? But like I said, make sure, this is on your low intensity days. And if you are meant to be hitting like threshold workouts and above, like higher intensity, don't worry about it too much. With those days, what you need to concentrate on is, yes, trying to control it as much as possible, but still allowing yourself to breathe heavily. But if you're doing intervals, that's where this breath control comes into play, and you can start to, go through your nose, out your mouth, and start to slow down that breathing. And like I said, by doing that, it will reduce the stress on the body, reduce the heart rate, and you'll recover a lot quicker. So it does come into play when you're doing intervals and things like that as well. Obviously, you can't keep the step with your breathing because you're not moving, but you can just do it in a count, like a 4-second count or something like that, in the same sort of rhythm, just keeping the same sort of rhythm. And like I said before, it's a really awesome way to sort of dictate where your training intensity is, because not everyone's got a heart rate monitor. And once you get used to doing this sort of breath training, when you're like these rhythms with your breathing, it becomes a natural thing. And then once you start to go past that threshold, you'll feel you can't hold that rhythm anymore. And I'm telling you, it's super accurate for myself, that I've gone past that aerobic threshold and I need to back it off that little bit. So really easy way to tell what sort of zone that you're in. Alrighty, so that is my take and a couple of methods on how to breathe when you're running. So hopefully it helped you guys out.